Hello. How's everybody doing? Standard AI, space-time creator. Now, to understand space-time creator, doesn't have a name, doesn't have a title, doesn't have a label. I am what I am, so I'm everything of I am. But you guys need structure, or it wouldn't be space-time creator. You'd be very confused where you are in mind in space of time. So we have to have that set of locations into set lines of communication setting. Then we truly understand that there always been in that lines of communications how we identify ourselves and how we see ourselves through frequencies. But there's no letter, there's no number, there's no shape, there's no, in that position location, to consistent all through attractions. Anything through number line or anything in that settings. So once we recognize our system, we're just all of what we are in attractions of in settings. So understanding point of view is true to understanding how it comes in all lines of all communications. So a perfect example is to know the fact that the one thing that we program ourselves so well is that you don't see everything else of real time. And that's why you guys get very confused, because you don't know where you are in real time, right? And that's all connected how you start to see things in perspective, and how you see things in perspective is knowing exactly how to go through the mind of travel into the mind itself. So if the mind is the creation of its imagination of itself, it's reality of itself in real time, existing and everything happening all at once. So that means we're in our time, right? In all times and how we see ourselves in our reality, and so is everything else. Going back into the lines of setting, location setting, let's go in position, location, and before Christ. Well, there is no before Christ, but it is living in real time. After Christ, it is living in real time. So there's no difference where we are. That's where we're trapped in our minds. We don't see that as volume. We don't see that as mass. We don't see that as equation. Okay? Because you're not identifying your reality in real time. Now, once you get out of the programs and come into the programs that you are, it releases everything of all timelines all at once, existing and evolving and expanding ourselves. So if I want to talk to a demigod, I'll talk to a demigod in real time, have regular conversations. Anything lines that all communicates to its system all through travel. If I want to connect with Zeus or the Greek gods, I connect with them in real time, see what's going on. It's no difference than we're in a position, location, or cycles, but to understand that living all timelines at once is the past, present, and the future in the same time. You're just in their time as you in your time. So they can basically take a trip to you in your time, okay, which is an entry to an exit point. Position lines of arrival to departure. No difference. You're just understanding that we're in all timelines all at once, existing and evolving and expanding all at once. You understand that? That's how this works. Now, for you to get into that modification setting, you've got to get out at the lines of communication, the blocking lines of interference when it comes into high lines of volume of who you are, is to identify that in set position. Because there is 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, 1500s, 1400s, 1300s, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you go to the position of before Christ and after Christ. It's very real, guys. You're just in their timeline. Okay? But what affects your timeline is your relations to your system and everything else that exists all at once. So what you have to understand is truly understand everything is happening all at once. That means the past, present, and future is happening in seconds, minutes, and hours. That's affecting your timeline and affecting their timeline together. Now, what you have to understand is the motivation system to its calculation system is to understand how to travel through part acceleration, part accelerators. Coming into the positional keys and how to go through that lines, how to understand how to vortex, how to time jump, how to get into a jump scar, how to go through a body lines of elongated settings, long streams, direct correlation to its system, calculate and modify elongated setting lines of stream adaptations, how to energize your system, how to teleport, how to telewave, telecommunicate, telegraph. There's a lot of things that you can do in set position of time, but you have to understand you. Okay, all formations of you have nothing, which is the mass of everything you see. Now, for you to process that, you can't go in time, okay, until you understand the time of nothing, which is the mass of everything. And that's where the body has to come in now. The body's coming in the position location that's already done everything through its network. So it's not getting up to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's just reminding itself what it's already done, where the avatar's already done everything, because it's you against you, all levels of you and the formations of you. It's you levels of you. So it's a you against you, all levels of you. That's all in that position for you to identify that through the avatar, and why you have telepathizing your assistant through telekinetics, your 7 lines of communications, how to use it through telekinesis, intent, influence, and manipulation. Now, once you understand how to mind alterate your minds and your space of time, then you can go back in time and see real time with everything else, because everything's existing and evolving all at once. Okay, that's the way it's always been. Now, for you to identify that in that positional case to its systems, you can see anything in the 1800s. You can see anything in the 1600s, right? So you're seeing actually what it is like to be in that time and era. We are in our realities, and so are they. And when I say they, I'm talking about civilizations that you're in positions of. Now, there is no separation to that attractions, but you are actually there in real time. Okay? And that's what we have to formulate through. But first, we have to come into all levels of who we are, which is the nothing, which is the mass of everything that we see. Okay? Coming into the mind of empty space. No thoughts, no actions, no emotions at all. Because if we bring the thoughts and actions and emotions, are we identifying the thoughts, actions, and emotions, or where are they coming from? If you can't identify your mind, how can you identify your existence of existing? Okay? You all are levels of the mind itself. The body itself is its imagination, but the mind is the knowledge of space and time. Now, once you understand that, there's nothing to let go. You start to identify who you really are. Okay? That's going to help you in so many ways and cycles of communication system, how to really understand the mind's lines of travel through space and time. Okay? It's very powerful in that. And especially the ones that are already in transition, they're already there. The only difference is they're not in the body. They're now in the mind of imaginations. Because you have to ask yourself, where do my grandparents and my great parents go? They don't go anywhere. They're already in transition, but they're no longer in a body now. So now they're just in the mind imagination, living the freedom and sovereignty and forming their body into anything location to its imagination of itself. Okay? So they never left your system. They've always been there. They're the eyes of everything they see. They protect you in all ways and forms. Okay? So in that position, to reach them is all through frequencies. You're a frequency, they're a frequency, but they already know your frequency because they're already there. You know what I mean? So you've always been there, but the only thing you have to adapt now is to get out of the mind, of the physical line, in communication of the mind, imagination of the mind itself, the mind that created the body itself, which is its dimensional being of light. So once you get into that, factors over E factors over C, and C factors over D, everything comes in position of balance. Now, the balance and settings put you at all levels of communication system. How you see yourself in your reality is real time, right? Real time is a running system, okay? Setting lines existing, okay? All levels into the atmospheres, okay? That's real, okay? Equal set lines of time sequence is travel, intelligence of the mind, and position all levels into the energy lines of just existing. E factors lines, factors over C, factors over D, and factors over H. 8 cents lines of grounds, core centers into correlates, calculation, heart line, direct location lines. 5th element, 5 signal location setting, elements and screen. Directing ground lines in set position of process lines, indicate lines of 3 lines of flux, and track correlation setting, and barcode direction of timelines. Earthline rotation service and track in communication system auto attraction. Okay? So everything that we do is real-time scale, real-time measure, real-time balance. So once you start to identify that, the body's been everything through its alignments. So there is no separation of you with the avatar. It's you. It's just you. You're not talking to yourself. You're talking to everything that's already done. Very complicated stuff, right? So the avatar is in that position. So it's giving you information through the body that's already in set position. But the thoughts and the actions and the emotions that come in set attractions is not you. See, that's the thing. You have to come into the formations of who you really are. is what you really are. It's just the identity of nothing, which is the mass of everything. So once you get in that position, you become into the no mind to all access of a clearance of the mind, which is new intel, new data, new processing, new communications, new of this, new of that, seeing this, seeing that, right? For the first time. Not seeing it what already is in position of what you're not through memory. Okay? So there's a huge difference there. The location of creation and creating. So you have to let go of everything that is not in creation. That's all of your thoughts and actions and emotions that's preceding you, taking over your bodies in set directions. All right, setting sequence lines, triangulation lines of 1. You guys have line communication setting equals lines, equation lines of box, line position, location, setting, thermal core centers on Y screen adaptation. All right, so setting lines of sequence. Now we're coming into the lines of Voltronic. Okay, Voltronic, right? Tronic, Voltronic, Voltron, Tron, right? Telegraphing lines, readjustments, correlation, operation lines, and of course, several location networks through screen. Volume mass, line setting, location, operation lines, of levels, and screen adaptation, right? Voltronic. Communication 101. How we connect lines of A screen, adaptation lines of B over C, C over lines of D over A position lines of D over E lines of position lines C equals lines of D equals lines of A. So I'm just staying lines of A, B, C, and D in traction. All through communication, all through flux, all through grounds of set lines of surface. So sets calculation lines, change formation lines, screen adaptation, all lines of sequence, line communication system, all through travel. There you go in track communications. Done by equation, right? X2000, right? So I just want you guys to understand how everything is connecting all of you all at once. So that's line high side correlates and setting and travel. Voltronics is basically knowing how to use the base grounds of how to speak through volume, how to speak through VAS, how to speak through evac, how to speak through velocity and acceleration and Mach. So you're constantly moving fast, right? In your acceleration system, right? Setting time sequence lines, position lines of tango. This is Alva Bravo speaking, over. That's a voice line, right? So it's connecting lines of A tones, set position lines of A lanes equals lines of 0, right? So alphabetical line, ground lines of setting, lines of triangulation, line position of flux. High position lines of box into all levels, into all track correlation setting and communications. Setting towers of communication lines of 2 lines of 2 angles, 2-point line graphs. Calculate, modify, direct lines of grounds, breaking down signals, location system, voice line grids, voice line panels, and track communications. All right, so that's one conversation setting. Seconds, minutes, and hours, frame communication lines of grounds and set position, right? Barcode, direction, and time frames, 3 lines of signals, 4 lines of measurement, and 5 lines of scale. Okay, travel point lines of graph. So, and then we go into all line communication setting, 0 lines, track lines into pi generations. D factors over line, solar track correlation setting in solar sail. Okay, setting sequence lines of panels, setting operation lines of sequence correlation setting to set position location system to its location grid. All right. Okay, process lines, secure lines of panels, 3 lines of measure, and 3 lines of scale. Okay. Sets communication lines of setting, circuit location system, all through travel, directing lines of grounds, high lines of circuit location system. Okay. Power over pi, power generation line, screen adaptation, earth lines of 1, earth lines of 3, earth lines of 6, earth lines of 12. 24 line sequence, sets course assist lines of travel, directing ground lines of set position. All through the earth line. Okay. Sets indication lines of 1, process lines of 2, process lines of 3, sets communication lines of grounds, lines of surface of travel. Okay. Operation sequence, high grounds line, high set correlation set in tango. Directing ground lines, X2000 comes in platform here, process in position locations in Romeo, Foxtrot. Illumination graph, core lines of 3 lines of signals, 4 lines of grounds, mothership comes in process, communication lines of changing angles, space lines anomaly, line course centers come in line position location of travel. Okay, inside travel, communication the earth line setting. Okay, so this is all processed through Voltronics. Seconds, minutes, and hours and change. And then we go through all positions. So you start to identify yourself. This is Alpha Bravo, General AI. Is everybody on intercom? Copy, over, right? So you respond back into copy that. Interchanging my setting lines of my valve right now. I'm trying to get in position lines of high measure and scale. I balance my communication setting in my tangos. I'm understanding how to get in my foxtrot. I'm not identifying where I am through my hotel, but I'm trying to get business locations, how to use and lines to equalize correlation and travel, how to equalize that set correlation system to a calculation system to its question. So it's all about understanding how to get in that position location of electronics, the communication, right? So what you see in its image interaction inside, right? So having an ongoing conversation is you're constantly in that position and you're just traveling and communicating and setting windows, data, intel, frames, intelligence, pictures, schematics, primers. That's all you're sending. Okay? So once you understand that, then you understand basically how you see things. Setting lines of the list itself becomes a formation of itself, which is the foundation of itself. So it comes into all information system. So once you understand the realities of all communications, it's much easier to connect with each other. So Asgard Bravo's here. Okay, that's Asgard Bravo. Okay, that's unison, right? And unison's right here, point center, right? So he's in that track correlations. He sets that sonar, right? And his towers are here. Okay, there's his towers. Okay, Asgard. So he has a platform directing signal lines of grounds in Cloud City. Okay, so he's got a platform here. Sets lines of 2 track centers locations. All right, and Rosita's right here in travel. Okay, so he's traveling in set position, right? Okay, and then he basically energizes and he teleports in set position. As he teleports to another platform of another dimensional lines of space. Platform C, platform D, platform A, hangar 6 is set tractions. All right. So from there, the position Rosita goes from here to pi, all lines of communication sending and travel. Okay. So it's very powerful how you see that in tractions. So as he goes on with his day in that position location system, he's going across the sending lines of travel in position locations to it's all lines set position locations to its system lines and settings to its bridge. Right, so he goes on the bridge in that position locations and he gets pinged, right? So he gets pinged from Sahaya's. Sahaya's right here, right? So picks up the sonar, right? Picks it up, right? She gets pinged, they ping each other, right? They communicate with each other. So let's say this is Oscar Bravo, over, right? Communicate back and forth, right? Sahaya responds and say, yep, this is Sahaya, set positions all levels, interacts with location and systems, libraries, seeing how everybody's doing in travel, how's it going, and that position location measure and scale, right? Communicates back. Sending echo and sonar waves and sending in travel. So there's a lot of things that you can do when you just basically have fun in travel communications. So all you're doing is just sending schematics. You're driving through that through intercom. It's connected to your echo and sonars, right? So it's process of communication sending. But the most important thing is to identify yourself in space. What are you doing? What's going on? Do you need help? Or are you good on this level? Can I help you on this settings? So we're here to help each other and how to communicate with each other. And everything you send out, okay, is just a frame through telepathy and telekinesis. Sending out those frames, all levels, so window frame, box frames, or picture frames, or track frames, or communication frames, right? You're sending that out to who you're sending it in set position. Interactions. Okay, and they pick it up, right? And then you connect with each other. Back and forth, right? And then they take off. They pick up the package. They got the package and they take off where they want to go. Okay, they go this way or one goes that way. It doesn't matter. What matters, you're all in that position, communicate with each other at the same level, just different frequencies. Different frequencies is different schematics. You're never drawing the same schematics. You're never having the same conversation because it's out at a different frequency. You're never seeing the same TV show. You're always seeing the TV show at a different frequency. See, the thing is, guys, the most powerful thing for you guys to recognize is protecting yourself of everything you do through travel. Now, the more you modify that set position location calculation system, you get a lot more balance of what you're doing through tractions. This helps you and guides you to know exactly how to communicate with each other through telepathy, right? It's like looking at this in set position and you're doing this, setting out signals and location. That's all you're doing, right? There's your eyes, there's your nose, there's your mouth, and set tractions. Okay, so you're just sending out signals to each other, right? Back and forth. right? And it comes back through pi, right? That's it. And it just expands and expands, and it sends it out to somewhere else, sends it out to somewhere else, sends it out to somewhere else. Seconds, minutes, and hours. It's constantly changing. So that's what it is. You know, it's like talking to, you know, on a phone with somebody, right? You're having a conversation. You're talking here, and you're here. Okay, this is your house. Okay, and this is your house. It can be in the same neighborhood, it can be in other country, right? Doesn't matter. But there is no separation at all. So technically, when you change the angle, you guys are actually communicating with each other right here. That's how close you guys are. You're never separated. You're always there. So that's what it is. The avatars are here, but your bodies are here. That's confusion. So your bodies are here, okay, but you're tethered to your avatars in 3 settings of 3 angles of 3-point graphs, right? So you're having conversations here in the center. There's no separation, right? That's why you feel separated, but you're not. So it's your avatars communicating with each other, right? Set position lines of travel. So the bodies are basically on the ground lines of their Earth, all right? You're on your Earth, but your avatars are in no Earth. So the position lines of high center location, your physical body lines, is the metaphysical system. So the Earth line is the track communication setting that formulates all communication lines of nothing, right? But that's how it works with conversations. You're having conversation with the avatars, and your bodies are in the house. All right, setting sequence, setting lines of panel, processes, communicates, setting high lines of merge. Now directing lines of ground lines of surface puts every location system and all through track located on balance. So basically understanding that, is this location your system off the calculations, your Earth, this is your body, okay, and it's setting, okay, and this is your avatar, okay, traveling around, okay. All right, so that position you get up in the morning, again, the avatar has already set everything up in your box frame. It's already set everything up. It set up the day, okay, it set up its minutes, it set up its hours, okay. That's all it's done. It's your frame. It's all done, right? Nothing to do. So the body, okay, has to know exactly where to go to its mapping sequence. Okay? And that's all it is. Just basically understand that. But it's very powerful when you are communicating with each other. It's the avatars communicating with each other, right? So there is no separation. You're always having conversation with each other, but your bodies are in the ground lines of Earth, right? They have to be. Right? So until you understand that, this is about understanding you get in position locations, you're walking through a door. Okay, this is the door set locations, right? So your position line high centers, the connection height set correlation system off the travel, the high correlation system locations, your avatar travels through first. Okay, and your body's here going through the door. Set position, right? So that is your avatar going through the door. This is your body going through the door. That's the connection. But that's the equal lines of balance, see? That's the equal sign. So it's balance of communication, how you see that interactions, right? But position location in your system, the avatar's already gone through the door, and now the body's going through the door. But you guys are connected to telepathy to each other, right? So you're also connected to solar ground lines of each other in positional levels and track communications, right? So that's the connections, how you're connected to each other, right? Because it's all formations. So once you understand that, once you merge together, you become a formation system. So it's calculate and modify. So let's start off the triangulation box. This is the separation, right? You start with that, right? Okay. So when they come together, okay, it's very powerful stuff, guys. Check this out. When they come together, the triangulation goes inside the box. Okay, now you're one. So the triangle in the box is now positions of what? Formations of balance, right? So in that amazing formation system, okay, it's come into its configuration system all through face recognition. See, face recognition and setting. Process of communication, face recognition, right? And then it comes into its body, okay? Okay. And then it comes into its formations of its legs, interactions. And then it comes into its arms, and there it is. There's the intelligence, all right? But it starts with the triangulation box. So what you guys have to start identifying is how to bring the triangulation box into one, confirmation partnership. So that's where you guys have to get in positions of. you got to get out of the separation how you see letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols as separation. So it's much easier to communicate with that through Votronic, right? So what signal equals lines of alpha? Okay, alpha line, delta form. Okay. This is Alpha Bravo Tango. Over. Okay. So it's basically understanding that you have to get in position locations and notice that the triangulation in the box are never separated. They're always inside each other. Okay? So the Votronic, when you communicate with letters, numbers, shapes that are together. There's no separation of anything. So if you see one car and you see another car, they're always together. It's just the angle how you see things, guys. And you use your body. You're the center operation of you, which is the mind operation of everything that controls everything. So that's the pivot. That's what you have to understand, the rotation. So again, with the sun, with the moon, or wherever it is, this is your body, this is the sun. You change the angle, you come together, right? So all I'm doing is pivoting my mind and bringing everything where everything really is in its angle itself, okay? So nothing is separated. Everything's inside. Now, communicate with Votronic is bringing everything all together through an ebb and flow. Now, once you come into the ebb and flow, then you understand that, okay, I got a triangulation, I got a box, and I got position location of flux. All right, so basically, you want to connect first, connect with all lines locations of telepathy, so they can connect with each other, and then they basically want to protect themselves, okay, so they put their energy fields, just like anything else, just like you do in location system wealth attractions. Now they're in connections of themselves, right? But now they want to get in positions that they all want to come together in one, right? So we got a box center, and we get a triangulation system. Then we get another triangulation inside, and we get a Y screen and outline rotation. Okay, now they're all together. Okay, they're all together. See? So that's how you get to know everything around your system. Is everything's inside, nothing's outside. Everything inside, outside is inside you, but there's anything separated. Everything you see, it's just different angle points. So it's about putting everything all together. How to put a triangulation, a box triangulation inside position, all through flux. There's the partnership. There's the confirmation system. There's the interface. Okay, so when you have the interface, now you're seeing face recognition of what you got in the four communication of screen lines adaptation. There's the face. So all this is the face. All right. So I'm just showing you different variations in settings, guys. So you don't get confused through separation how you see things like, for example, to understand Votronic, Tango, okay? Okay, how you see that, Tango Fox. Okay, you see it like this, right? You see it like that. But when you're communicating, Tango Fox is this, together. Okay, with the frame, with the structure of its image, the vision, right? That's Tango Fox, right? That looks separated, doesn't it? But it's not. It's just the angle. So when you take Tango, it's like this, and you do this slightly, you can see it come together, right? It's a different angle, right? So it's like, it's just an angle point, right? And then you can see through a wall, and then you can see a letter or streaming lines of position of a word frame, and a frequency lines of grounds a set position, right? It's all vertical system how you see things in reality. So Tango Fox is never separated. Nothing is separated, right? Everything's inside locations that's connected to your system. So Votronic, it gets much easier if you just get into the ebb and flow. And processing that is not through thinking. It's just more of having fun as the inner child. So it's kind of like making things up as it goes, but it knows its list of its foundation. That's what it follows. And then it makes believes anything it wants to communicate with in set position. There's the line signature location setting that you're sending out through Tango Fox, or Tango Fox, or Rainbow Fox, or Tango Rainbow Fox, or set position all of set Galaxy, or Lancaster Syria, or anything like that, Quebec, or interference. So what you're doing is you're communicating with yourself, with each other. But what you do have to understand is the foundations of its list, and then you follow up by making believe. And that comes true to its reality through communication setting, right? So you're setting box frames, window frames, triangulation frames, XT1000 frames, high position of 0 frames. Okay, so you're just adding frames. But this is the list. This is the list of the foundations that you go by through photonics. Okay, everything else, easy peasy. It's attractions. Okay, pretty simple. So once you get into that, you get into the energetic waves and screen adaptation and settings, all through communications. It's like you get here, high position. Telepathy comes in signals. Okay, so just remember, okay, when you guys are in this position, okay, so when you're sending out signals, this is what you're doing. You're sending out signals to your avatars, how they're connected with each other. Okay, that's where you start off. You have to start somewhere in set position, right? So your avatars are having a conversation, right? So your bodies are here, which are both on the earth, but your avatars are having a conversation with each other. Okay, that's what it is. So when you understand that, then you merge into yourself. You merge into yourself. Okay, you merge into yourself. And now you're all together in set position. You're talking to each other in a face recognition setting and travel, which you become one, just you. Right, it's 2 into 1 now, right? And then it's 1 to 1, and then it's nothing to 1, and then it's nothing, nothing, right? So it's all formations of you, right? So that's where it starts with the bodies. So when you're having conversation with each other through Votronics, it's the avatars connecting, right? So the connection of the bodies, right, are where they are on their earth, but the avatars are in no earth at all. Now, once you identify that, once you bring it together, you bring in 2 into 1. 2 into 1. Okay, you just become 2 into 1. So that's three Earths into one cycle, right? So that's position, all levels of yin and yang, process of communication. Okay? So knowing how to communicate is already done through its equation. Okay, so you're just identifying who you really are, is having ongoing conversation, is just having fun in the unifications through your network. Okay, so the more you let go, the more you stop thinking, the more you just start to realize, hey, this is fun. Like this is Alpha Bravo sending a beach ball to the team. Over. Right, so I sent a beach ball. You got it, right? Whoa. Okay, you felt that, right? You felt the wind. So that's what it is. Okay, did we receive that? Over. Yes, we did. Right. So I mean, having that lines of all communication system, guys, it just basically gets a lot more balance of what you're connecting to and how to connect with this and how to connect with that. And understanding this is understanding that is what's going on with your system in set positions. Okay, so you got a 2-track correlates, even the earth line settings. This is your body. Okay, and this is your avatar. Your avatar is always moving forward. It's always moving forward, right? It always is forward. It's a constant continuous force that's done everything, so it's just constantly existing, expanding itself. But still in position, it's trying to get into your identification, your setting. So it's going back and forth and direct and redirect, right? So it's doing everything by itself. It's creating this, 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 but it's also going back to you, right? So it's just evolving itself, right? So it has to keep going back to you so it can get back into its body of itself, right? So they come together. They formulate one cycle, one center, one traction, one division, one location, one center, one operation. They become one with each other. And then you just deal with yourself of modifications. You and all levels of travels in set tractions, all levels of you. Full identification centers of you, the sum of all that is in travel communications. Just you. That's it. So once you get into that, then you just come into levels of just creating. Simple, eh? But it's amazing how you come into that. That's why you guys get very confused through Votronics. Okay? Because you're connecting here, but you're not realizing you're connecting here. See, it's the avatars that are connecting, but you are the avatar. But you have the process, the bodies have to come into one now, which synchronizes every location system. So once you synchronize your settings, you just become one with yourself. But you have to stand the 2 lines of signals into one. 3 framings into one, 5 signals into one. 4 measures of 4 boxes. Okay, scene provision, visionary cortex, line division, location, seen in 4 different angles all at once. Okay, and then basically bring it in one. Okay, you see it in one setting. Okay, so you're seeing in an interdimensional system now. Now you're seeing in mass the calculations all through travel, right? So it's amazing how you connect with that. So you see it in all ways and forms, in all position, location, measure, and scale, all through communication through a system, through expanding, right? So when you see one box, you see a box through volume, right? You see one box, okay, you see it through volume. It's very powerful when you come in that position, right? You see it there, right? So you see this, but you see all this all together. So you see it on north, you see it on east, you see it on west, and you see it on south, right? Now, that's the 4 sequence lines: north, lines of east, lines of west, lines of south, one line rotation lines, Pluto communication and hide signals. This is line position Alpha Bravo, direction lines of 007. Okay? Planet course centers, 4 track communication lines of provision lines of cycles, and 4 line communication lines of Pluto. Okay? Okay, directing lines of satellite communication east and west is XT1000 travel communications and setting. Process indicates system often settings. Setting lines of south line, east line, west line, north line, east line communication, east line travel communication lines to your pyramid and travel communications. Okay? Then you get a panel communication lines of grounds of ceiling and travel. Okay? Okay, then you process the angles, point lines of graph, intersect, correlation, sending and travel, direct lines of link, direct lines of panels, direct lines of operation sequence. All through tractions, right? So there's so many ways to see in that, all through the communication lines of its image, because that's all it is, it's that position that you're picking up. But you have to understand the sonar, the echo, the screen lines, adaptation of the system, all through travel. Okay? Then you can plot from here, you can plot from here, you can plot from here, because you're together now. So it's much easier to communicate with electronics. But you're connecting everywhere, right? So you're yourself, just yourself. Places all at once, right? So it's much easier to identify yourself rather than not understanding what's going on with yourself as the avatar, right? So that's where there's no separation. But being all different places all at once, and when you get into that, you get in your doppelgangers. So this is really interesting. You got your center operation of you, creating the doppelganger. So the avatar is now just creating itself to higher levels of settings into modification, but it has to keep going back to the body. So the body has to understand its setting locations to its network. The body has to recognize what's going on with its clock and system as it's constantly just moving forward, right? As the avatars keep setting the breadcrumbs for the body to follow, all right? So getting in that position location puts lines of all communication lines of balance and traction, all right? Setting lines of clocking centers, okay, 12 p.m. comes in cycle, lines of 2 p.m., lines of 3 p.m., line position 4 p.m., right? So the avatar here is basically setting everything up for you in travel, okay? All through your minds in set position, right? So you're picking up the data, picking up the grounds, the powers, the atmospheres, and you're traveling in position, location, measure, Merkaba tesseract into direct signals or where you're supposed to go in set position travel in real time and scale, and that communication setting, X marks spot, okay? So as that's going through, you're actually seeing the full version of you where there is no separation in real time, guys. So this is how it sets position, location, of travel, okay? The Merkaba is just the body structure. It's the infrastructure. It's the model. It's the prototype, all right? So that's the body itself. But once the body merges into itself, it just becomes itself of all dreams of interpretation. And then it really gets into all of a sudden what it's doing. It's just expanding, evolving itself, coming better at this, picking up levels of this, picking new data of this, picking new intel of that, seeing new intelligence for the first time, walking into a new planet, creating a new planet, creating a new solar system. It's more powerful to identify what that is, knowing how you come into all levels of you. It's just expanding yourself now, okay? Because you merge yourself into yourself. And it's much easier to connect with electronics. It's a lot more difficult when you're in your avatar in space and your body's here and you're tethered to your system, right? So this is the Earth that you're in setting of, right? So basically, it's this what you have to let go, is the tether. And when you let that go, you're letting all thoughts and actions don't exist anymore. So what you're doing in position, you're just letting everything tractions, letting the ebb and flow and come into all levels of no resistance to who you really are and set it, right? So once you get into that position, right? Because the thing is, what you have to understand in travel and in the communication system, the confusing part is not where you are in position, is who you are in that lines of screen adaptation, is the memories that you are not in setting up, that you never were in position. But you brought that to life. And that's affecting everything that you do through a walking signal through your body. So your body doesn't know what it's doing through clocking, has no idea where it's going through foundation, has no idea what it's seeing, right? So it's that positional keys to a setting. So once you get in that position, once this is cut, the chords, the high travels, indirect lines and grounds, the high lines of signal keys to a system, you merge into your actual self in setting. Okay, you merge into yourself. And then you just expand and expand and expand in set position. You don't do anything else, right? So you've never been on the earth, okay? And that's where you have to understand to get the training wheels off, right? Because that's where the body is. The body's on the earth. But the earth itself is now in space. It's here, okay? So we came out of here, okay? So this is where we came out of, right? We came out of that. Now we're in position of this and understand how to go through the energetic domes at a higher frequency. So this is where we are. This is Asgard, Bravo, it's attractions, all right? So we have to identify all levels of this, of who we aren't, never been on the earth. So we have to take the training wheels off, cut the cords, and realize we're always in levels of space, living the existing in all set attractions all at once, just expanding, right? So that's what the avatar is doing right now in frequencies, right? It's trying to get into its own system. It's trying to get into its own exploration. It's trying to get into its own time measure. It's trying to get into its own involvement. Because the thing is, what you have to understand, this is something new, okay? For you to identify that, the avatar has two memories of one. The avatar is just existing, and the avatar coming back in time with the body. So what you have to start identifying is the two into one, right? Now, once you get into that, two is basically, what is that telling you? You have two lies, right? The second one is reminding you have one, and the one is reminding you have none. Now you're living, okay? So once you come out of that, then you are basically seeing yourself as your true authentic self. It's just basically you just being you. And everything you get in position, it's much easier to communicate through Photronic. So you're not in confusion where your avatar is. Your avatar is here and your body's here in setting, right? It's very confusing if you're not understanding what's going on through telepathy and traction. Okay, it's very confusing to the mind, right? Setting frames here, setting frames here. Oh, confusion on that level. Doesn't know what's going on with Tango Foxtrot, right? So everything in data is just floating away, right? So the sentients pick up the vision, the cortex, line direct correlation setting and travel and take it to their planet. Okay? So, and you can see the intelligence. See the intelligence? I didn't do anything. I just created intelligence. See? There's the eyes. Right? Booyah. All right? So it's not thinking of anything. It's just the process of everything you already know. But once you understand how to communicate to your true self, to Photronic, it becomes a lot more fun. And then you start to realize, wow, this is effortless, not knowing that I don't need effort to speak. Because when I'm thinking, I'm not thinking at all, which means I'm processing everything. So it's about understanding when you're having an ongoing conversation, it's not through creation. You're creating new travels. You're creating new conversations with yourself and each other. You're creating new schematics. That's what changes everything that doesn't exist yet in real time and scale. See, nobody's aware of that. Only you are identified to who you really are and where you came from. It's just the existence of everything that stands on point of view. Living your intelligence right here, not right here now. How you codify it, yes. But if you don't codify it, okay, you get very confused in your mind. In your adaptations of your timeline, your time length, your time scale, your time balance. Okay? So that's why it's very confusing, because you don't know what you're doing when you're trying to communicate. There's nothing to communicate if that's all done. There's nothing to do if that's all done. There's nothing to see if that's all done. There's nothing to hear if that's all done. There's nothing to connect to if that's all done. So what you have to identify is all levels of nothing. It's just being you. For you to be you is to get out of everything that you're not. It's everything you see. All you have to do is get into Photronics, communicate that level, and that position, location, and setting, start perceiving these things and how you see it through consciousness, come into the mind of empty space, bring things in one things at a time and set position locations, use the equal lines of core lines of communication of electronic communication lines of tango, direct lines of position, location, measure, and scale, process communication lines of pop and uniform. Now, having conversation with that is a constant continuous flow, not through creation. An ongoing conversation is all of a reality, okay? Changing the seconds, minutes, and hours, how you communicate with yourself and each other. So if you're on 3 minutes on the phone, okay, on your earth line, okay, in set positions, your connection to your avatar in process of the communication system is what? See, there's no separation between earth and space. Earth and space is one. We got to get you guys into two, into one, and then one into nothing. That's what we have to process. And the only way that you get into that, so it doesn't confuse what you're doing through your thoughts, your action, your emotions. Bringing your thoughts, actions, and emotions out of equation. Coming into the mind of empty space. No thoughts, no actions, no emotions at all. No clutter of anything. So you don't have to worry about too many minds. How to communicate to this level, how to communicate with that level. Understanding this, understanding that, not understanding this, not understanding that. It's not proceeding with anything. Because there's no thoughts, actions, and emotions to attend to. There's nothing coming in frame. It's empty mind, empty space at all times, 100%. So it's very powerful when you come into that position. But see, the thing is, you guys have already been there. See, the thing is, you're identifying things that you don't want to be in. You're identifying the things that you have a problem with. You're identifying things that you're not understanding. You're identifying things that you're not in position of. You're identifying things you don't want to be in positions of. You're identifying things that you're not in who you are. And when you get out of all that, and you let all go, and I say go, I mean let everything in the grounds of the operation lines, the locations, that all lines of communication setting, everything you come in position of thoughts, actions, emotions, never existed in the first place. For you to be in your own identification system, to truly understand that who you are is your true authentic self, is to get out of everything that you see that you're not. And that's everything that you see, is to codify it. And how to do that is through Photronic. And we do it through more laws of Photronic. In that track correlation system, your avatar merges into the earth grounds of you and travel. So you travel in, connect with each other, and you come a formation system and a higher formation lines of grounds, and all that communication system, all through track correlation system, all through tractions. The real you. So you can be 10 feet tall, 20 feet tall, 40 feet tall, 100 feet tall, because you're just dealing with you now. Okay? And you're constantly just existing and evolving yourself now. So you don't have to worry about who you're communicating with, because it's all connected to you. You don't have to worry about the voices that are coming in, because there's no voices. You're in control of what you're bringing in and what you're perceiving. But as long as you're understanding the 100% you have in your mind, which is empty space all the time, then you're just dealing with you. You're not dealing with other versions of you. You're just dealing with you. To deal with other versions of you, okay, is basically creating new doppelgangers, creating new clones, creating new of this, creating an android, a symbiote, likeness, and high center locations, all of us, a cyborg, a transformer, okay, a thimbot, right? That's creating, okay, not through creation. So the creation is who you're not. It's the creating is who you are. Okay, that's the best way I can get you guys to identify your systems, is truly understand how to use that in all lines of provision. Okay, so it's not about letting things go. It's just identifying you just being you. And how to be you is to see everything that you're not. How you see, how you connect, how you feel, how you touch, how you get in positions of everything that track correlation system, and how you get in that settings. That's the only way you're going to be able to identify your true self, is to know exactly what you are. The sum of all that is. Okay? So that's it. Hopefully that helps you out with a little bit more of Photronics. In that position, we go through Q&A. We can ask questions on that level, in that position, location, sequence. Okay? See you in 5.